Welcome to today's episode of Sikka to Swipe. I'm your host, Noina Banerjee, and I'm excited to bring you a conversation that dives deep into the world of fintech and information system. Joining us today is Professor Deepankar Roy from NIBM, a respected voice in the world of financial innovation and digital transformation. Professor Roy's work bridges academia and industry, offering sharp insights into how technology is reshaping the financial sector in India. Professor Roy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Professor Roy, why academics and why did you choose that as your career?
Initially, I was not into academics, so I have worked in a corporate firm for a couple of years, but I had an inclination towards research. I wanted to pursue my PhD, so that brings me into academic.
When you started your academic journey, fintech was still a new word kind of a thing. So how has been that transition? Because you're a professor of fintech and information system, I really want to know that how you have seen that the word fintech in itself, was there in that journey. Like what we understand as fintech today and what was the fintech 10 years or 15 years back was very different.
Yeah, exactly. So, see, if you know how banking evolved and then the technology adoption in banking. So I still remember those days where, I'm talking about 2 decades back, say around 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. It was all about banks trying to adopt technology and those days, core banking system, so which is the kind of backbone on which a bank works. Alternate delivery channels, net banking, mobile lending gradually came into this space. So this trend I have been seeing from 2015 or 16, fintechs or startup companies coming into the banking and financial services space and kind of coming out with a lot of value-added products and services. And banks also felt a lot of competition. But then we see gradually banks also have kind of collaborated with the fintech sector, and we see a lot of co-branded products and services that are being offered jointly by the banks and fintech.
We all understand banks are no longer just banks. They're payments, they're platforms, they're tech players, they're everything, right? How do you think that the banking system in India is adapting to that change?
Banks were initially kind of the gatekeepers of financial services. They used to take deposits, they lend, then they came into the payments business. But now we see a shift of banks they're shifting from their traditional role of being the gatekeepers of financial services, and now they are evolving into multifunctional platforms. So they are opening up their infrastructure via APIs to allow fintech and third-party developers to plug in. Like they're offering lifestyle banking, investment tools, etc. So from financials or giving credit or finance, they're also becoming data-driven tech firms. They're using AI, machine learning for churning data, analyzing data. So the entire the scope, the role of banks have kind of changed. That's what we see in today's time.
You spoke about how banks are changing, and then there is super app. There is a lot of deliveries and a lot of innovations happening around data. So how do you think that the banking or especially the BFSI sector, what you see is how they're balancing this innovation with compliance and security?
So that's a flip side. Of course, as you rightly mentioned about banks are also grappling with a lot of attacks that are coming, that are hitting their infrastructures. Every now and then we see some banks getting breached and their data is getting stolen. They're mostly now data intensive. They're churning data to a great extent to get insights and all that. But at the same time, we see incidences of cyber frauds hitting the banks. They have to comply with certain regulations that are being set.
With technology, we all know how, especially in the fintech industry, technology is moving very fast, and people have to skill and reskill themselves constantly. What do you think that if I say top 5 skills you believe a young professional or student need to have to thrive in this industry?
See, first of all, of course, so there are some tech skills which they have to learn. As we talk of big data analytics, machine learning, deep learning, and those things. So there are 2 kinds of roles here. So one is kind of pure programming roles, where mostly the engineers, they fit into those roles. But when you talk of management and business schools, right? They also kind of are offering a lot of these skill sets. But what is lacking here, of course, programming and all, you need to learn a bit and all, but also you need to learn the domain. Domain knowledge is very much essential, right? So the banking business is changing. There's a lot of adoption of technology, terms on digital lending, fintech lending, buy now, pay later. Now, so we are moving to crypto world nowadays. We are talking about central bank digital currencies. So the entire landscape of banking is changing, and this huge adoption of technologies like blockchains. You need to also kind of learn this technology. Banks are changing, the lending processes are changing, payment processes are changing. Nowadays, we are talking about investment banking. So AI is being used for that, wealth management. So
I could say that, domain knowledge along with technological knowledge is what you need
to
be able to thrive in fintech industry, right?
Exactly.
How, at NIBM, are you preparing students to become future ready in this fast moving landscape?
So NIBM, we have a very specialized MBA in banking and finance. So we don't offer general MBA. Since NIBM caters to the banking and finance service industry. So these are the kinds of courses which we are offering to our students, so that by the time they pass out, they are almost industry ready.
What the industry required, I think student needs to be industry ready, and I think that's what all of us look at when we interview people, when we want people or young people to come on the industry. Yeah. So I think that is phenomenal. I also have a question, sir. You are deeply involved in research and academia, right? Mm-hmm. And in India, obviously, India is known for UPI across the world, and now we are also talking about digital currency. So I want to know about both of these. What kind of research and academic interest that you are if you are pursuing, or if you have heard somebody else is pursuing. Or is there a threat to this, or or as a country, do we have huge opportunity in both this forum?
So digital payments, if you talk about digital payments, India is one of the pioneers in kind of modernizing or coming out with flagship digital payment systems like your UPI and others. RBI has already kind of initiated a pilot program on CBDC. There have been implementation of CBDC that we see. The one current research which I did was how CBDC can promote financial inclusion. So that is one big issue that is that every developing economy is grappling with, financial inclusion. So thanks to UPI, at least payments kind of inclusion has happened. Credit and pension and insurance, those kind of financial service and products. So these systems like UPI or CBDC, right? Though CBDC has also a kind of one feature where you can probably kind of track the transaction history of a customer, or in fact even UPI for that matter. So
what do you think is the greatest opportunity in fintech that we as a country have in the next couple of years or the next 5 years?
See the journey of fintech, right? Initially it all was payments. Now slowly, if you see, the entire focus is towards lending towards the to low-income households, MSMEs. The major challenge is, of course, to assess the credit risk of a borrower. So traditional banks, they are not very comfortable to lend to certain sections of the population because there's not much of a data available for underwriting and making credit decision. But fintechs are actually coming up, filling up that gap which has been left over by banks. So there are fintechs coming up and addressing these kind of requirements that banks typically have. They're trying to take up new problems in the industry, right? And they're trying to come out with innovative solutions to the problems.
I really take up this thing called red tech that you said, the regulatory technology, and I think that's a big need of the hour because the way the innovation is happening, there's a lot of regulatory changes constantly happening. Do you see the murmur in the industry that there's a lot of regulations and it's kind of sometimes a hindrance to our growth, or do you see that people are accepting and the need?
They're trying to innovate, but somehow they feel that they are being pulled down. They should be aligned to the kind of regulations. They should be customer friendly. Customers should not be getting duped. There has to be a balance between the innovation and kind of compliance requirements. Yeah.
So they have to go hand in hand. You students who are planning to get into the fintech world, if you have to just say in one word 4 or 5 skills that they should have, or what is missing, and they should be pursuing that to be successful in a great fintech career.
Of course, as I said, they need to learn some of these new techniques or some programming, but at the same time, they also need to kind of learn about ethics in financial decisioning. They must be able to know about decentralized finance, digital lending regulation. I have already talked about AI, ML. They need to also learn about UI, UX, user interface, user experience. They must be able to learn what is open banking, embedded finance.
What keeps you going? So many years in academia, what keeps you going, and what are you looking forward to?
Yeah, so I have almost spent almost more than 20 years at NIBM. So what keeps me going? This is a very nice place to work. So I see a lot of changes that is happening every day. So I keep myself engaged in training. So I train a lot of people from the industry of banks on upcoming areas. I kind of do research. So some of my research are in the area of payments. Some of my research is in the area of cryptocurrencies, regulations around cryptos. Some of my research is also in the area of machine learning. As I said, credit or finance is still a big problem in the country. So constant learning is what needs to be done by anybody who works in the academic industry.
Constant learning and delivering is what keeps everybody going. There's always a change. Professor Roy, thank you so much for sharing your insights and time with us today. It's been a fascinating conversation. To our audience, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave us a review. We'll be back soon with more inspiring conversation from the world of fintech and beyond. Until next time, stay curious, keep exploring. Thank you.
Thank you.